exclusively on ESPN Plus. UFC 313, Saturday. Reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira defends his title against number one contender Magomed Ankalaev, and an explosive lightweight bout between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. UFC 313, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNPlus.com/PPV.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Lately, it seems that crapping on superhero movies is in fashion. While one can argue whether the genre has seen its day, one has to also remember how far along these movies have come. So let's go back in time when one movie took all that we held near and dear to our hearts and crapped out a neon nightmare. Holy challenge, Batman! Let's see if Batman and Robin is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies, and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Hello to all of our listeners in Guia de Azora in the Canary Islands and around the world. How you guys doing? Okay, many moons ago, when Lyle Robichaud was on the show, we covered Batman Forever. But because it's March, we decided to celebrate and kick off Razzies Month with a film that definitely raked in its share of nominations at that year's Razzies. We're talking about the fourth nail in the coffin that was Batman and Robin. And here to join me, the Robin to my Batman, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
Why do I get to be Robin?
You look way better in the shorts.
Why can't I be like Poison Ivy?
Well, you know, if you want to put on that costume, I'm not going to argue.
Come on, man.
All right, do the dance. Do the dance.
I get to be the real Slim Shady.
Okay, so no. See, now I'm just trying to picture it, and I'm
Guess
all for
who's
it.
back? Back again.
No, stop.
Batman's friend.
Stop your rapping.
It's Robin.
Stop your rapping right now.
Oh, come on. I have been waiting since last night to bust a rhyme. There it is.
All right, that's it for the show. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay, so we've mentioned it on this show before. The Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson Batman is your favorite Batman.
Absolutely. It's classic. End of story. Leave it there.
Okay.
Please.
So now I'm going to ask you, Batman and Robin, is this your least favorite Batman?
Oh, you know, I have thoughts. Do you really want me to tear into it now, or do you want me to just kind of ease into this?
Let the record show. I swung by the Dollarama before we started recording and got you an entire box of Snickers bars ready for this record.
Yeah, but you got the little mini ones. Those aren't going to cut it.
Well, they're like mini rants at that point.
Yeah.
That's what they should do. Little like Halloween bars of Snickers. They should call them like mini rants. And then like as soon as someone has a little like, then you feed them a little one and go, okay, that'll cover you for the next hour.
You're going to throw chocolate bars at me all this record, aren't you?
Well, I wasn't going to, but when you give me a good idea like that, then here we go.
Ah.
Welcome to the happy house that does the movie show.
Side note, where's my damn chocolate?
All right, before I have to make with the chocolate bars, we're going to be talking about Batman and Robin. But before we do, it is time to take this superhero film and trailerize it.
Gotham. A city so dark it takes a vigilante in the night to keep the streets free of crime. Until 1997, when the Everywhere seemed like a $125 million version of the Ice Capades. But that's not the only thing that's changed in Batman and Robin. George Clooney trades in his scalpel and doctor's coat for the most sterile script of a comic book film that's one quip away from him doing the Batusi. Along with his sidekick Robin, they'll try to stop Mr. Freeze, not from freezing Gotham, but from making more puns in one film than the entirety of Arnold Schwarzenegger's filmography. Cringe as you watch the last vestiges of a powerful franchise begin its long slumber, until it gets woken up by the guy who made a movie about dreams within a dream. George Clooney puts the nail in the bat coffin in Batman and Robin. Rated PG-13 for puns of Gotham.
Ooh.
Yeah, this film, I want the world to hop on to Spotify right now, because you can leave comments on the podcast episodes. I want the world that is listening on Spotify right now, go to the comments section of this episode and say, I'm sorry, Jason, for making fun of all your bad jokes and puns. Batman and Robin exists. The world owes you an apology. I mean, I know. I've got bad jokes and dad jokes for days, but whoo.
Okay. But I'm just going to say this right now. I'm going to put this out on Front Street. If you watch this movie with zero expectations and prepare yourself mentally that it's not going to be good, so you might as well just not expect much from it, then it's not that bad.
Is it though? I mean, because some of these puns, I mean, bad puns exist in Arnie films. That's going to happen. There's no getting around it. And some of them are funny. Some of them are funny. Some of them are just not.
But he was clearly having so much fun.
But should he
with
have
this
though?
role?
That's the thing.
It was
should
obvious.
He have?
It was one of those, he knew the assignment, completely understood the assignment, knew that this was going to probably land like a lead balloon, and yet still went with it and still, had that, I don't know, black light glow smile it was really eerie. Was that lipstick? Was that his teeth? What, did he have a black light on his chin?
So I was reading about this. Okay, so apparently there's a little light emitting thing in his mouth during that time. But apparently, and this is all according to IMDb, the battery was starting to react when his saliva would hit the thing, and he would get battery acid into his mouth while he was actually filming. So
see, he
suffered for his art. Yes,
suffered. Yeah, he put himself in serious danger. I'm sure that's not healthy.
I mean, I've eaten some bad food in my time, but I don't know if I'd go and eat battery acid. Although Taco Bell exists, so there's that. I will say though, there were times during this film, and I'm just going to get this out now before we get to who's in this film. You remember The Princess Bride?
I do.
I mean, everyone remembers The Princess Bride, right? Because The Princess Bride is one of the greatest films ever made. Don't ever remake it. And if you think about remaking it, Hollywood, I will find you and I will end you. But that being said, there were times I felt like Wallace Shawn in that film when Andre the Giant's doing all the rhyming in the boat, and I want to have that Wallace Shawn go because that's the way some of these puns were.
There were times where I had Jeff Goldblum's line of just because you can doesn't mean you should going through my head. I'm like some of the fight scenes, the ice castle that I swear it was choreographed and it looked like a stage play. Like it literally looked like it could have been a musical.
Yeah, and we're here to say good things about this film, or at least try to say good things about this film.
And then the Go-Go Gadget skates? Come on.
I mean, that's basically how every Canadian is born. Like, oh, you're a Canadian. Here, let's put some skates in your feet so you're ready for hockey season, no matter when and no matter where. But we're going to try to find good things to say about this film.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Fred Warner, linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. Abercrombie has the new suits you need, plus all the collared shirts to go with them. The Abercrombie & Fitch Collins suit is the only suit you'll ever need for any occasion. Available in slim, classic, and athletic. Pair with a collared classic. Go with a soft, easy-to-wear sweater polo or a comfortable long-sleeve shirt. With so many different fits and fabrics, you can make a look that's completely your own. Add the Abercrombie & Fitch Collins suit and new collared shirts to every occasion this season. Shop online or in store.
When you think about your future, you know what calls to you. Meaningful work, happiness, growth, and sharing these values with others. But how will you find all of that? There are many paths forward, including one you may not have considered. The military provides countless opportunities to pursue your calling, where you can be part of something bigger than yourself, while still being yourself, and having the future you want. You have a calling, we have an answer. Learn more at todaysmilitary.com.
But before we do, let's get into who is in this movie. The movie stars George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Uma Thurman, Alicia Silverstone, Michael Goff, Pat Hingle, and Elle Macpherson. The almost starring is rather interesting because, of course, in Batman Forever, the movie that came before this, Batman was Val Kilmer. Not this time. George Clooney is Batman, but it almost wasn't. Under consideration for Batman, I'm going to get your take on these two possibilities for The Dark Knight. David Duchovny.
Ooh.
I don't hate that idea.
I don't hate that. I could see that.
And William Baldwin. Maybe not. I mean, I know at one point Alec Baldwin was under consideration to play Batman at some point, but he also then did The Shadow. But yeah, David Duchovny, I don't hate that idea at all.
You know who I think could be amazing? Matt Smith.
I'm going to argue that
I want to see a Matt Smith Batman.
No, I don't.
Suit up, Smithy.
I don't.
No?
I mean, I love Matt Smith, but I want him to be one of the villains because you need a good villain. And David Tennant as the Riddler needs to happen.
Okay, I could see that.
Right. Okay. Under consideration for the role of Mr. Freeze is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. This list is all over the place. Bear with me here. Ed Harris, Patrick Stewart, Hulk Hogan, Sylvester Stallone, Christopher Lloyd, and Anthony Hopkins. This is the most all over the place list.
Woody Harrelson.
I don't know. Yeah.
I kind of want to see that.
You know, I don't hate that.
I don't hate it either.
I really don't hate that, actually. I mean, if you want to cast Patrick Stewart as maybe like a Hugo Strange, I'm all for that. But I mean, how in the world do you have an under consideration list that includes Anthony Hopkins and Hulk freaking Hogan?
Whew. Well, that would be two very different
Very
characterizations.
different. Also, under consideration for the role of Poison Ivy, Julia Roberts, Sharon Stone, and Demi Moore. That's actually a really good list amongst the three of them.
But no, I wouldn't replace Uma.
No, apparently Uma Thurman was chosen because Joel Schumacher saw her on the cover of Vanity Fair and thought that she was, quote unquote, the most beautiful woman in the world at the time.
I agree.
He's not wrong. Not wrong. under consideration for the role of Bane, who was played by Jeep Svenson. Kane Hodder, who of course is known as Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th films. You talk about presence.
Mm-hmm.
Kane Hodder's got presence. In the role of Batgirl, as played by Alicia Silverstone, Olivia D'Abo was offered the role, but Joel Schumacher eventually said no. But Jennifer Love Hewitt also auditioned. And I don't hate that idea. Now, keep in mind, this is not saying anything against Alicia Silverstone, but I don't hate the idea of Jennifer Love Hewitt as Batgirl.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been different.
Oh, it definitely would have been different, but I'm still waiting for the day when Jennifer Love Hewitt finds herself in some kind of superhero film. Because let's be honest, at some point, everyone's going to be in a superhero film. It's going to happen. There were a couple of cool cameos in this film. Coolio was in this.
Coolio and his Clockwork Orange gang.
Right, as the banker. But as one of the biker gang members was Corey Haim.
What?
Yep. Hard to tell, but he was one of the biker gang members according to IMDb.
But they all had helmets on, so.
Not all of them.
Now I want to go back and watch that.
The movie was directed by Joel Schumacher and written by Akiva Goldsman. The film had a budget of $125 million. Domestically, it only made $107 million, but worldwide made $238 million. When it was released on the June 20th, 1997 weekend, of course, debuted at number 1 because it's a superhero film. It's Batman. Debuting with a $42.8 million take. Debuting at number 2 was My Best Friend's Wedding. Speaking of Julia Roberts, that came in with $21.6 million. There are some accolades for this film. Of course, the Razzies are going to be mentioned because this is Razzies month, and we only talk about Razzie films during the month of March because this is what we do. But let's get to some of the good accolades first. At the 1998 Saturn Awards, it was nominated for Best Fantasy Film, lost to Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery, which I don't know if I would qualify Austin Powers as a fantasy film. Yeah, you're looking at me like, huh? I mean, it's a time travel film. Yeah, I get it, but
it's
fantasy?
Completely fantasy.
Really?
Austin Powers is
I would not put that film in that category.
Caricature. He wouldn't be
caricature, yes, and comedy definitely, but not a fantasy film. Maybe if I'm thinking fantasy, I'm thinking more like dragons and swords and the like. But
I think so. But if you lump in like almost comic properties and like Austin Powers would fit that bill, I think.
It was also nominated for Best Costumes, but lost to Starship Troopers, and nominated for Best Makeup, lost to Mimic. At the 1998 Blockbuster Entertainment Awards, and tell me nothing says 1998 like Blockbuster, Uma Thurman won for Fave Actress in a Sci-Fi Film. Chris O'Donnell won for Favorite Supporting Actor in a Sci-Fi Film. Arnold Schwarzenegger was nominated in that category, but Chris O'Donnell won. And Alicia Silverstone was nominated for Fave Supporting Actress in a Sci-Fi Film, but lost to Winona Ryder in Alien Resurrection. At the 1998 Kids' Choice Awards, it was nominated for Favorite Movie, lost to Titanic, which everything lost to Titanic around that time. But Alicia Silverstone won for Favorite Movie Actress, beating out Uma Thurman. But here's where it turns to the dark side. At the 1998 Yoga Awards, Alicia Silverstone won for Worst Foreign Actress. At the 1997 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, Alicia Silverstone won for Worst Supporting Actress. The movie won for Worst Picture. Joel Schumacher won for Worst Sense of Direction. And Akiva Goldsman won for Worst Screenplay for a film grossing more than $100 million using Hollywood math. And the reason why we're here, the 1997 Razzies. It was nominated for Worst Picture, lost to The Postman. George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell were nominated for Worst Screen Couple, lost to, and I can't believe I have to say these two names together, Dennis Rodman and Jean-Claude Van Damme in Double Team. Chris O'Donnell and Arnold Schwarzenegger were both nominated for Worst Supporting Actor, lost to Dennis Rodman for Double Team. Alicia Silverstone won for Worst Supporting Actress, beating out Uma Thurman. The film was nominated for Worst Reckless Disregard for Human Life and Property, lost to Con Air. It was nominated for Worst Remake or Sequel, lost to Speed 2 Cruise Control, another film that we have covered on this show. Joel Schumacher was nominated for Worst Screenplay, lost to The Postman. And this is an interesting one. The Smashing Pumpkins were nominated for Worst Original Song for The End is the Beginning is the End, but lost to The Postman for the entire song score for that film. But that same song from the Smashing Pumpkins won the Best Hard Rock Performance Grammy at the 40th Annual Grammy Awards. So you could be nominated for the crap and yet still win a Grammy somehow. 1998 was weird. This movie is on Empire Magazine's list of 50 worst films ever. That list being released in 2010. It came in at number 1.
Ooh.
And this film, of course, is on Wikipedia's list of films considered to be the worst. But the reason why we ever put a movie on this list is because of the critics. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a tomatometer of 12% and a popcorn meter of 16%. At Metacritic, it sits at 29%. IMDb, 3.8 out of 10. At Letterboxd, it sits at 1.9 stars out of 5 for a 38% score. And at the Movie Database, it comes in at 44%, giving us an aggravated aggregate of 29.5%. So we have a lowest score coming from the Rotten Tomato critics at 12%. We have a highest score from the Movie Database at 44%. Before we get into this, where are you putting Batman and Robin?
I think in the 20s is fair. I think 12 is low, and 44, unfortunately for this property, is a bit high. So yeah, I'd give it like the 29. Was it 29.5?
29.5% is the aggravated aggregate.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, well, let's get into the breakdown of this. And of course, it's a Batman film, so we have to start with Batman himself. In this case, it's Bat Clooney. I know you love George Clooney. I know. But how was he in this?
You know what? I preferred him as Batman, and I thought that I would have preferred him as Bruce Wayne. So let me explain. As we know, Michael Keaton is my Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Bar none, he's my Batman. But I found him a little bit goofy as Bruce Wayne. Like, he was just a little bit awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And I had hoped that I would look at George Clooney and be like, okay, he's my Bruce Wayne. Michael Keaton's my Batman. But I like Clooney. I really do. I just felt that he was a little, I don't know, a little too suave for Bruce Wayne. I kind of wanted a little bit more, I don't know, like a bumbling millionaire, or like this kid that grew up with money and just kind of never emotionally grew up. You know what I mean? Kind of like Michael Keaton. So, or Michael Keaton's portrayal, not saying Michael Keaton himself, but his portrayal of Bruce Wayne.
Nothing against Michael Keaton.
Exactly. No, I loved him as both now. And I don't know, Clooney, just seeing him as Bruce Wayne just didn't quite sell it for me. Now, and then of course, Val Kilmer as Batman, because he's just got like the perfect facial structure for the bat suit. So, there's that. There's full respect there.
You know what? It's funny. Apparently someone commented back in the day when this movie came out, they were like, apparently Batmen are selected just for their jaws alone, and Clooney has the perfect jawline. Does he though? He looks good in the bat suit. I'll give him this. But
I will say, I felt that his facial features were kind of lost by not so much the bat suit, but there's that big plastic like neck piece.
Yeah, because he can't turn his head.
Yeah, no, that took away from George Clooney as Batman in this movie. I think that the costume was somehow different. The connection with the bat helmet and the neck piece, and it was odd almost.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I remember seeing this, not necessarily a meme, but it's basically like the Batman cowl through the cinematic years and how it's changed from Bat movie to Bat movie. And Robert Pattinson's Batman in The Batman has the most cheek and jawline that you ever see from the cowl because of the way it's cut, and allows for a lot more movement. So Robert Pattinson can actually move around in his suit. It's funny that you mentioned that you liked Clooney more as Batman than you did as Bruce Wayne. I need to remind everyone that by the time this film came out, like, the Batman animated series had been on TV for years. And Kevin Conroy's portrayal of Batman, and yes, I recognize we're talking about a cartoon here, but bear with me. Kevin Conroy specifically affected his voice, or inflected his voice, to be different from when he was Bruce Wayne and from when he was Batman. Batman was a darker, much more menacing tone, and when he was Bruce Wayne, out of the cowl, it was a bit more light, a bit more bubbly. Clooney, I think, actually embodied that Kevin Conroy portrayal from the Batman animated series, and Batman the animated series is considered to be one of the best, most comic accurate portrayals of the entire Batman lore ever, period, bar none. So if they're taking their cues from the Batman the animated series, because it was huge, it was a huge thing on TV between, think about it, early 90s cartoons on TV. We got fed well because you had Batman the animated series, you had the Fox Spider-Man animated series, and of course you had the freaking X-Men as well. Like, the 90s cartoon superhero shows served us a freaking buffet from both DC and Marvel. Schumacher's coming in directing this, and apparently, like, before every shoot, it's like, remember, it's a cartoon. So that kind of gives you an exact idea of the tonality that we're going for. It makes sense to take your cues from something that is successful on TV at the time. And even though Schumacher's vision doesn't necessarily translate all that well from a script perspective, thanks to Akiva Goldsman, if Clooney is taking his cues from Kevin Conroy, that's the way to go. And I think that's why I actually prefer him as Batman in this, because the animated Batman, it's a little lighter, a little bit more jovial with Alfred, right? There's a little bit of that father-son kind of sparring, verbal sparring between the two of them. It's a little tongue-in-cheek. And you got a lot of that with the Christian Bale and Michael Caine combination in the Christopher Nolan films. I liked the chemistry between Clooney and Michael Gough as Alfred.
I was going to say that scene where, you know, he's sitting by his bedside and he's just like, I love you. And it was like, oh, like.
And I'll also say, I like the chemistry between Clooney and Chris O'Donnell versus Val Kilmer and Chris O'Donnell from Batman Forever. I think that's the better dynamic duo compared to the movie before. So say what you will about this film, and I know George Clooney probably ranks low on everyone's favorite Batman. I think it's more a reflection of the film and not a reflection of the performance that he gave. Although apparently Clooney had been known to, if he found out someone had gone to see Batman and Robin in the theaters, this is something from IMDb, this isn't just me making stuff up here, he would give them a refund.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Mr. Clooney.
But I mean, he apologizes to people for this film,
Aww.
right? He says he doesn't want to show it to his wife, Amal Clooney, because, quote unquote, he wants her to respect him.
Oh.
I think Clooney takes a little bit too much on his shoulders for this one. He's not the problem in this film at all. At all. Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin, your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I couldn't get over the the whole Slim Shady, like, rip on Robin. I couldn't get it out of my head. And I don't know, he was great. It's nothing against him, but he just felt very comic book as Robin in, with the face mask and the cape and everything.
Yeah.
Out of the costume, I could completely get behind him as the Robin character, the sidekick, the partner to Batman, right? And he was always kind of looking for that partnership. He wanted that respect from Batman, from Bruce Wayne. And I really thought that he played that well. Like, I thought that came across perfectly. That, there's that whole age gap. But what I really liked is when he kind of started mentoring Batgirl.
Yeah.
Right? So it was almost kind of like he became the in-between, or the right hand. Like, he became the middleman.
Yeah.
Very much.
Well, I mean, it's interesting too, because of course in the comic books at points, Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon do have a relationship. So you can tell they were almost kind of leaning towards that. And you could tell they were looking at the future as well. And pardon me while I geek out for a second here. So there's a massive change in the way his costume looks from this film to Batman Forever. The style they were going for very much was almost in line with what Nightwing's eventual costume would become. So as Dick Grayson kind of leaves the Batcave, if you will, he becomes his own vigilante, and Nightwing's costume has that Robin-esque kind of logo, albeit in blue, across his chest. I think history kind of looks a little bit more fairly on Chris O'Donnell. And I say that because of some of the interpretations of Robin that have happened in animated films since. In 2010, Batman Under the Red Hood came out, direct to DVD. It's one of the best animated Batman films that's out there. Voicing Nightwing, aka Robin, aka Dick Grayson, was Neil Patrick Harris. That version is very similar to what Chris O'Donnell gave this, minus the bad puns. That there's a bit of a lighter aspect, because think about it, Dick Grayson grew up and was able to grow up, and he sees how dark and serious Batman always is. So I think he adds a little bit more lightness to his character so he doesn't become Batman. Neil Patrick Harris is fantastic in the voice role of Robin. I think Chris O'Donnell is actually not bad here. And again, I liked his chemistry, and I loved the chemistry between him and Alicia Silverstone. I think he, as one of the few carryovers from Batman Forever to here, Chris O'Donnell, I think, is also more comfortable in the role.
You know what I liked, though? That they didn't completely solidify the relationship between them, because I thought, you know what? That would be too obvious. I like that they kind of kept it lighter.
It's subtle.
They kept it more like a mentorship or a friendship as opposed to relationship.
Well, I think part of the problem, and you can play a little bit with it, right? Especially out the front where it's like, please tell me you're looking for me, right? This isn't Barbara Gordon. This is the niece of Alfred Pennyworth. That's one of the biggest sticking points I have. And we'll get to Alicia Silverstone's performance in this role in a second. But one of the biggest sticking points I have is that Batgirl is Barbara Gordon. And they made her the niece of Alfred because apparently they couldn't look at Alicia Silverstone and say, well, of course, that's Commissioner Gordon's daughter, considering who's playing Commissioner Gordon in this film. And it's like, what, couldn't you just change actors or something? Like, somehow, some way. But I mean, by comic book lore, it's not Batgirl. So I can see why you don't fully go on with the relationship. Although there were scenes where it's like, you're definitely setting something up for a sequel that's never going to happen. But I liked the chemistry between the two of them on screen. Since we started talking about her, Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl, your thoughts on her?
You know what? I absolutely thought she was perfect. I thought she was she showed up out of nowhere. She was sweet, she was innocent until she wasn't, and she was sneaking out into the darkness.
She
of
was
the night.
innocent to Alfred, let's put it that way.
Yeah. But you know what though? I liked her. I liked the strength of her character. She was absolutely determined to help. She was determined to suit up, and actually Alfred was the one that had the suit ready for her. He knew what was going on.
Let's be honest. Alfred knows everything. As much as Bruce Wayne is considered to be the world's greatest detective, Alfred frickin' knows everything.
Exactly. It's Alfred that's leading the charge.
Even though it's apparently Alfred's brain waves have been simulated in his computer program, so he's like Alfred, frickin' Headroom, cousin of Max, which is kind of weird. But I think of everyone in this film, Alicia Silverstone suffers the most from a crappy script. Like, they gave her like some of the worst lines to say. They put her there and she doesn't do much except at one point. There's the point where they're trying to program the satellites in order to be able to redirect the sun towards Gotham. By the way, spoilers like a mofo. This is actually part of Barbara Gordon's character, because in the comic books, when Barbara Gordon is shot and paralyzed by the Joker in The Killing Joke, afterwards she becomes Oracle. So she's kind of like she's the girl in the chair, physically and literally and metaphorically as well. So the fact that they have Barbara here as a computer genius, there's two scenes. There's two scenes. That's one of the best scenes with Alicia Silverstone in it. The other one is when she's trying to tuck Alfred in because, right before she goes out and steals a motorcycle. Because again, Alicia Silverstone and Michael Goff and their chemistry together, it was so good.
It was. I mean, she was absolutely perfect. And not that I'd want to replace her, but I was thinking about when you were naming alternate actors that could have played the role. But really, Cameron Diaz, wouldn't she be a great candidate for Barbara's character?
I mean, keeping in mind, this is 1997, so we're around the time when The Mask is coming out. So I could see Cameron Diaz in that role, but I don't know if I'd want to change Alicia Silverstone. I think the only thing I would really want to change in her role is the fact that it's Barbara Gordon and make it a little bit more comic accurate. It's like when we talked about all the way back on the very first Grading on a Curve special and comic book movies, Catwoman. Don't give me a Catwoman movie if it's not freaking Selena Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, though, with Alicia Silverstone, the issue I had was when she did suit up as Batgirl. And they did, of course, the obligatory, butt shot and the bat boob shot. It's like, I think that did a disservice because she was so sweet and pictured to be so innocent. And she was, I mean, damn it, she was Alfred's niece. Like, don't disrespect her like that by, sexualizing her costume. Like, well,
in fairness, they sexualized everyone in costume at that point. So yeah,
that's an issue I have with this movie.
I'm surprised we didn't get the Mr. Freeze suit up close up butt shot.
No, but I liked his jammies.
I want that lounge coat now because yeah.
Oh my God.
And apparently those cigars that he was smoking on set and painted white so it looked like they were actually brought to set because he was getting visits from people like Jesse Ventura, who of course made his way into one of the roles of one of the Arkham policemen. And Bon Jovi was apparently visiting set as well, would bring cigars.
Oh my God.
To set.
You know what? I feel for him, like the amount of body paint that he must have been covered in. And ingesting battery acid and silver painted cigars. Like, if a cigar is not bad enough to inhale, why not put some paint on it? Like, come on.
Yeah, but Arnie is a cigar aficionado, so he'll probably smoke anything. But since we're talking about Arnie, let's talk about Mr. Freeze. I got thoughts. Oh, I got thoughts.
Can I just start out, because I know you're probably going to slam him, and before you do, I just want to say I just loved him. I mean, was he good? No. But was he bad? No. He was just Arnie.
Corny AF.
He was having fun, damn it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If Schumacher's saying, remember, it's a cartoon, and that's the direction they're giving, then Arnie gave exactly what he wanted to do. He felt like a Disney Channel villain with all the bad puns. But I'm going to rage. I'm going to grab those.
Let me get the Snickers.
Let me get the pack of mini rants here. It's time to go.
On.
But it's not about Arnold Schwarzenegger. It is about the writing of the character of Victor Freeze. You have 2 moments in this film where I felt like they actually got the character of Victor Freeze right. And then again, I'm going to geek out for a second. There's the scene where Batman and Robin are watching the security footage of Victor Freeze trying to come up with the cure for McGregor syndrome, and he falls into the cryogenic fluid and whatnot. His demeanor on those shots is exactly what we need out of Victor Freeze if you're going for a comic book accurate take. Even the Victor Freeze from the cartoon that clearly influenced a lot of this, Victor Freeze is a much deeper character. He is smart, he is driven, and Batman actually empathizes with his reasoning, his raison d'etre, to find a cure for McGregor syndrome in order to be able to cure his wife. Batman doesn't think that Victor Freeze is a bad guy. He just thinks he's a not well-directed guy. Like, the means don't justify the ends.
I kind of like that Batman donated the diamond and ruby necklace to kind of lure Mr. Freeze. And he never actually tried to retrieve it. I mean, yeah, he chased him down, tried to apprehend him.
Okay, but he was also under the influence of Poison Ivy, and he had to thaw out Robin, so he couldn't chase it back. Okay,
but also knowing that it's the diamonds that's going to help find the cure or keep him alive.
Well, here's the thing. It's discovered that Victor Freeze had found a cure for stage 1 of McGregor syndrome, not stage 4 like his wife has. So at the end, Mr. Freeze is beaten and Batman is standing over him and he's like, I'm not going to end you. I'm going to help you and allow you to continue your quest to cure McGregor syndrome, because this is actually a noble goal. Batman understands that. And Freeze has the 2 vials that will cure stage 1 McGregor syndrome. And like, this is a Batman moment. Clooney using logic and passion in order to be able to get through to Freeze. Victor Freeze, not Mr. Freeze at that point, Victor Freeze, right? The scientist, the doctor, the man trying to save his wife comes through. And then Arnie it up with a bad little take 2 and call me in the morning. No, shut up. Don't ruin this moment.
Yeah, but I'm sure that was scripting.
It's total scripting, but that ruined a really good Batman moment. Like, it's kind of like Batman Forever, and there's this scene where like they're over like this big pit or whatever, and Batman convinces Harvey Dent, Two-Face, to flip the coin, right, in order to determine Batman's fate before he tosses a bunch of coins and like throws Two-Face off balance. But there's that point where Tommy Lee Jones says, "Oh, you're right. You've always been a good friend." And it's like, That's the Harvey Dent, not the I'm trying to match Jim Carrey's cray-cray Tommy Lee Jones performance. That one moment, we had one good moment of Two-Face in that film. Here, we had 95% of a good Batman Victor Freeze, Mr. Freeze moment, and take two and call me in the morning. Shut up, Ernie. Shut up.
Would you like the candy bar now?
The thing is, the dynamic between Mr. Freeze and Batman is an interesting one with lots of layers to it. It's a very complex hero-villain connection. And it's even played that way in the video games as well. Not like this. This is just puns. Anyone who complains about the puns and quips in Marvel films needs to be strapped to a chair, Clockwork Orange styles, and made to watch this film multiple times in a row.
Oh, no.
Campfire season's back, and that means s'mores. But when you're at home treating yourself, take them over ice with Dunkin' S'mores Cold Brew Concentrate. And suddenly you're always treating yourself. The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be. Click or tap the banner to shop now.
It's time to rewrite the vacation rules. With Royal Caribbean, your family can look forward to just about anything. Break the thrill barrier, roaring down the tallest water slide in North America. Jump into breathtaking jungles and jaw-dropping coves. Vibe off the charts on our private island Perfect Day at Coco Cay. And end the day knowing things are just getting started. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Uma Thurman, who played Poison Ivy, your thoughts on her?
Loved her. Loved her as a redhead. Oh my God. The hair was on fire. And, the costumes, I think she was absolutely perfect as an evil seductress.
Yeah, this costuming very much takes from that animated series. And I think that's the thing. Uma Thurman came to play. She came to eat from the scene buffet. Like, she danced on screen. She was nimble and like just soaking in every single moment. Like, she was a cartoon villain. And there's something fun in that. Like, even the inflection she puts in her voice in it, like it's like, came to dine on these scenes. Like, scene stealer, like very much how Jim Carrey stole the show in Batman Forever. Uma Thurman steals a lot of the scenes that she's in just from her sheer presence on screen.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and yeah, like, even though as her
alter ego is Pamela Ivy,
right? Like, her previous state, she was cute as a button.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she really was. Like, you just knew that she, although she played meek and kind of, nervous,
but smart as well.
Smart, and totally smart,
but still somewhat conniving. And that's the thing. Pamela Ivy is, basically, for lack of a better term, an eco-warrior. And even in her meek pre-powered kind of phase, she's still an eco-warrior at heart, even though she's kind of a meek, geeky one. Does it through science as opposed to, through seduction. So, yeah. And the minute she changes, just, you actually see the physical body change as well, right? Like, her posture and the way she walks before she becomes Poison Ivy. It's very, I don't want to say low self-esteem, but definitely not as confident, not as powerful, the minute she becomes Poison Ivy, it's like, oh, please, hello, and say hello to everybody. That's her characteristic on this. Mm-hmm. And it works because that's what they did in the cartoon. And I think that's why people are like, oh, you know what? Uma Thurman is actually really good in this. Again, superhero movies are based on how good the villain is. You had one here that was good and one that was not. And then you had one that was absolute Bane.
Oh.
I'm just gonna read first 4 words I wrote down here. And again, this is not on the actor playing Bane. What the actual...
I saw that coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's... You know what? I mean, he could have been there or not. Like, there was really no characterization of Bane.
This isn't Bane. This is not Bane. Bane from the comic books is smart and strategic and cunning and ruthless, not a monosyllabic grunt machine. Like, this is a monosyllabic town fair knockoff wannabe luchador. That's what this is.
Like I said, he wasn't even necessary.
Jack Black was a better luchador in Nacho Libre than Bane was in this film. Oh my God, this is so bad. Bomb. Shut up. This is not Bane. Bane, and say what you will about the Tom Hardy performance, but at least the essence of the character is there, right? The chess player, the ruthless, cunning. You have my permission to die. Yeah, we can make fun of that voice all we want. And we will. But Tom Hardy's Bane is a Criterion level thespian masterpiece compared to Bomb. He was barely freaking Frankenstein's monster at this point. I mean, yes, the Bane mask looks better than what Tom Hardy's like gimp face thing that he had on his. But no, this is not Bane. Michael Gough, who played Alfred, your thoughts?
Absolutely fantastic. Oh, I love him. He's so knowing and he's so smart and you know what? He is in control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Batman is smart, but only because of Alfred.
I don't know if there is any character from the Batman universe that has ever been so perfectly portrayed than Alfred. And that's going across every single version of Batman. Okay, bear with me here. You got the original Adam West TV series, right? Goofy, kooky. Alan Napier is brilliant as Alfred in that. For 4 films, Michael Gough brought more to the screen than, well, this film deserved. Michael Caine in the Christopher Nolan films. Jeremy Irons in the Snyderverse. And then Andy Serkis in The Batman. Really, Alfred has been the most perfectly cast character over decades, no matter who plays him, because Alfred is this really fascinating character. He really is. He's so much more than just a butler.
Well, that's why the introduction of his niece was fascinating. I was like,
okay, but can we not make her Barbara though?
Okay, no, but fair enough. But aside from that, like, really think about the family dynamic, right? Alfred has given his entire life to the Wayne family.
Yep.
So you have to wonder, how has that allowed for his relationship building with his niece?
Yeah. And I think...
Does he get a vacation?
No.
Crime doesn't take a rest.
Here's the interesting thing. So you have this dumbass plot that's going through with Victor Fries and Poison Ivy. Very, very comic booky and all that. But then you have this B plot of Alfred becoming sick and coming down with McGregor syndrome. And this is the more interesting angle of this film because it enters into the potential future of Batman, of Bruce Wayne without Alfred. That's something that I don't think has ever been explored as far as movies go. What would Batman be like if he didn't have Alfred? I mean, Batman Beyond kind of explored a little bit of it because at this point we're in the future. You know, Bruce Wayne is old and he's kind of become the Alfred while Terry McGinnis becomes Batman in the future. But Batman without Alfred is a much more dangerous character because Alfred's always been like this, almost like the moral compass.
He's grounding.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been curious what a post-Batman and Robin sequel would have been like had they let Alfred pass away and we have this Batman Unleashed kind of character. Things that could have been. Michael Gough is one of two people who has been in all four of those Batman films. The other was Pat Hingle, who played Commissioner Gordon. They didn't really do much with him in this one, but your thoughts?
Yeah, now that you mention it, why was there not more? I mean, he was, aside from, becoming
very enchanted with Poison Ivy.
Enchanted by Poison Ivy and giving her the keys.
Yeah.
Like, aside from that, he was very underutilized.
Yeah.
And why is that?
In the Tim Burton Batman films, Gordon is used quite well and Pat Hingle did a decent job. Here, they basically turned Gordon into a freaking idiot. And I don't like it because Gordon is supposed to be, again, much in the same way Alfred's supposed to be a moral compass. Commissioner Gordon is supposed to be the moral compass of the Gotham PD, right? It's supposed to be that touch point for Batman, almost like the law grounding of him.
But I think it fit with the lightness of this movie. This movie was different from all of the other Batman movies. Like the Batman movies, whenever you think of Gotham, you think of like a dark, seedy, almost kind of like crime has become rampant and taken over. You've got the bad, evil characters that Batman is there to protect the city against.
Mm-hmm.
But this entire movie, like even the baddies were way over the top and everything was just fun and colorful and like...
And not Batman.
No, but again, if you go into this expecting a Batman movie with your, painted black picture of Gotham, then that's not this. And this has taken a completely multicolored turn, and quite literally, right? You've got like, again, Poison Ivy, like decorating everything in vines and greenery. You've got like the previous multicolored gang. Like, I don't know what they were all about, but it was very colorful. Even Coolio was colorful, and all the baddies were almost like...
You can't dim Coolio's light.
They were comic book, though. This is a very different feel. It was a much lighter, almost like a comic book come to life, or like an animated series come to life.
But that's not what we want out of a Batman film. There are plenty of superheroes where that kind of colorfulness can work. The Flash, and I don't want to I don't want to get into that film because A, it doesn't qualify, so I don't have to. But B, The Flash is a much worse film than Batman and Robin, personal opinion, because it's just Ezra Miller is so freaking annoying. But Batman's cast of characters, his rogues gallery, and his cast of supporting characters is one of the best in comic book history because every character there is a complexness to them. There's not just a duality. That's deeper than dualities in many cases. You know, they are rich tapestries of different emotions, each and every one of them. The Flash, you have characters like freaking Captain Boomerang, you know, and the Top and the Weather Wizard. And you can kind of lean into some of those little bit goofier kind of characters, kind of like the TV series did, which was the much better representation of the Flash to begin with, but don't get me started on that. But Batman's characters need to be more than just quips and puns and jokes. That's not what Batman is built on. Yes, the Adam West Batman series leaned into that. Everything was bat this and bat that and bat everything. But that was the 60s. This is 1997.
Okay, but were the comic books not colorful where you would have like bam, pow, thwarp, you know? Like,
yes, in the 50s and 60s.
And it was colorful and it was comic book.
But, okay, so the comic book brain here coming. Okay, so in that time when the whole like Biff and Bam and Pow and all that, that's when comic books were at their lowest because you had just gone through the McCarthy hearings and they were dialing back comic books from being these, you know, bad influences for the children. They were the cause of crime and hooliganism and they had to dial everything back and everything in comic books was sterile. And the Adam West Batman series amplified that. And then in the 80s, you get new comic book artists coming in, like Frank Miller, bringing the Dark Knight back to the scary, badass mofo that Batman is. Like the true vigilante, the Dark Knight. Comic books had finally gotten back to accurately portraying someone who is still traumatized by the death of his parents and taking it out on the criminals of Gotham, and the criminals of Gotham being some of the most psychotic in comic book history. We didn't need an Adam West-esque Batman film. It wasn't where we were going with this. But interestingly enough, Kevin Feige, Lord God of all MCU, had said, this film was the most important film of comic book movies because it forced everyone to rethink how they present comic book characters on the big screen. And when you think that the biggest comic book film that came out after this one arguably was X-Men in 2000, which brought it back to a much better presentation of superheroes on the big screen. If Batman and Robin failed so we could get the 2000 era's comic book films, then maybe we have to give a round of applause to everyone who shit the bed in this film. But I still think it's not as bad as people make it out to be. Small role here, but still a big name. Elle Macpherson, who played Julie Madison. This is the girlfriend of Bruce Wayne that just wants him to say, will you marry me? Your thoughts on her?
My take on it is that she was just totally into him for the money, for the diamonds and the jewels. Like, she was literally an arm piece. And I don't think that, obviously, aside from the fact that Wayne was a bit bewitched by Ivy, I just don't think that he I don't think he's going to settle down, and certainly not with her. I don't know.
No, he has a future with Selena Kyle. Catwoman.
With Catwoman.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, she was really just arm candy. She wasn't anything special. Sorry, not that the actress wasn't.
No. Again, nothing against Elle Macpherson, because I actually think her performance in the film is good.
Oh yeah.
Julie Madison as a character. Hear me out on this one. One of the central themes of Batman and Robin is family. It's like Fast and Furious before Fast and Furious existed. It's all about family. But yet here's a character that is hammering home the idea that Bruce Wayne will never settle down and start a family. The character of Julie Madison is counter to the central theme of the Bat family.
Yes and no. Okay. Now, first of all, he has to protect his fortune and he has to protect his identity. And really, he doesn't quite have the job that, batting ain't easy. And it's not like he... It's not like it's a 9-to-5 gig, all right?
I want that on a freaking t-shirt.
If he has to sneak out in the middle of the night...
I want a picture of Batman with his hand up going, batting ain't easy.
If he has to sneak out in the middle of the night to go and save crime, or save Gotham from crime, she's not exactly the kind of woman that's going to be so understanding. Like, she's going to take all his money and run. I'm sorry, but that's the character.
I mean, here's the thing. All four of these films have given Batman the girl he'll never have, right? You got Vicky Vale in the first one.
Well, that's the thing. He should have married Vicky Vale because she knew, she found out that, Bruce Wayne was Batman, but she still didn't care. She loved him. She had her career. She didn't need his money.
Okay.
So she was in it for love.
And then you got Selena Kyle, Catwoman in Batman Returns. But we all know that, Batman and Catwoman, that's a thing. That is definitely a thing.
You want to put a cat and a bat together. I can't imagine that to go very well.
That's how we got the Huntress. Thank you kindly. But then in Batman Forever, you have Dr. Chase Meridian with the absolutely fantastic Nicole Kidman. And yet, here we go. You can't have Nicole Kidman either. And each of these films, it's like, okay, so they know, but they have to reconcile that they're with Bruce, but they're also with Batman. Every single time, they know that Bruce, his is the worst kept secret identity in the history of comic book films, because every chick he nails in these four films knows who it is.
He doesn't even have glasses.
Except for Elle Macpherson. Elle Macpherson doesn't last long enough to find out that he's Batman.
Well, no, because he's all about Ivy.
Then Ivy doesn't find out either.
No.
No, he's not about Ivy.
No, he was bewitched, but still. Good thing, though.
Let's talk about two of the worst perpetrators of this film. Director Joel Schumacher and screenwriter Akiva Goldsman. Looking at how this film is filmed and how this film is written, which do you think is the biggest albatross weighing this film down?
Ooh, I mean, it wasn't very punny, I see where they were going with it, that they wanted to have a string of one-liners and there wasn't really much meat to the dialogue for sure. But I have to go with, the direction and the world that they created as well. It was very campy, and I think that was very much a detriment, but I see again that this particular movie, they wanted to go a lighter lighter take on the Batman.
Well, apparently the pressure was there on Schumacher to quote unquote make a film that's going to sell toys, because that's how you make your money back from these films. You sell freaking toys, right? And I get that. We all get that. It's a reason why there's so many Transformers films. Michael Bay. But the thing is, though, it's a Batman film. You're going to sell toys regardless of whatever you do, right? It's a freaking Batman film. Batman toys sell. They do. They sell. You didn't need random rack zoom button nip shots. You didn't need the ice capades of hell. You didn't need a Gotham City that looked like it was created in Megalopolis.
Oh, no.
And you're picturing it now, too, and you're realizing it.
No.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. This isn't even, like, Tim Burton's Gotham definitely looked like a shooting set, but it still felt real, even a little bit brutalist. What world, what city looks anywhere close to this with the egregious amount of statues that are as tall as buildings? That was never Gotham.
It's like the Candyland of Gotham.
Yeah, if Candyland was not candy and just Molly in candy wrappers.
Like if Willy Wonka was mayor.
Yeah, but only if it's the Willy Wonka that's not a chocolate lake. Epic movie returns.
Okay, I had issue with that where
with Epic movie or with this one?
No, with the vat of like 50 below liquid. Now, hold up now. If it was that cold, wouldn't it have frozen?
Don't try to make sense of this film.
Or would it not have become like a dry ice, like a steam, or like you can't have a vat of liquid that is 50 below.
I mean,
is that not scientifically?
I don't know what the actual there's a chemical compound that can be that cold and still stay liquid. I can't remember what it's called right now because I'm not a freaking scientist, but it can happen. But it's one of those things where like just don't try to make sense out of anything that happens in this film, because you're not going to. It's not Gotham. It's egregiously cartoonily directed. I understand that if you have Arnold Schwarzenegger on your cast in the 80s and 90s, you're going to want him to quip because that's what he does. And Schwarzenegger does have a decent sense of humor. Like Kindergarten Cop is one of the most Schwarzenegger quotable films. There's no bathroom. Not a tumor. But those made sense in those. Like, this is just bad puns. Think about every single bad pun joke I make when the kids roll their eyes up at me.
Okay, but he could also turn it off, though. The scene where he was watching
the video of his wedding, yeah.
Wedding video, right? And he became very serious and very dark.
That's Victor Fries until the part where he blasts his minion and he goes, I hate when they talk during the movie. Like, that felt like a scene that was written specifically to be put in the theaters before the movie comes on.
You okay?
I'm going to be okay.
Want a Snickers bar?
No, I already ate them all. But the actors, Schwarzenegger aside, because at some point you have to sit there and say, maybe I don't need 27 puns about snow and cold and ice. I think the thing weighing this film down is the script and the direction and stepping away from the lore that makes Batman and his cast of characters so deep and complex and rich and making for a good story. There is a good story in this film, but it needs to be focused on as opposed to getting the kiddies to laugh in the theaters. All right, Carrie, we've come to the end of Batman and Robin. But now I hand it to you. Who is your MVP of B&R?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right.
Uma Thurman. Hands down, Ivy.
I mean,
Poison Ivy.
She was so much fun in this. She was.
She was so great.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely wonderful. She understood the assignment. She had fun with it. And you could see that she was having fun with it. She was in command of her scenes. There's no question.
Yeah. I see where the inspiration came from for her portrayal of Poison Ivy, and that makes sense. But she's not my MVP.
Oh.
No. But I think you're going to agree with my MVP. Michael Gough.
Ah, yes. Okay, I can't argue that.
Because not only is Alfred the heart of pretty much anything Batman, but his sheer presence, like anytime anyone was on the screen with Michael Gough, everyone's performance was better. These were the best moments of this film, and the centering of Alfred and his ailing health and the effect that that has on Bruce and Dick and Barbara as the Bat family as a whole, as is known. That's the story to this film. And if they leaned more on that and less on the ice puns, then you get sequels to this film and you continue on with the franchise. But to the same token as well, this got us to the Christopher Nolan trilogy of Batman films. So, necessary evil, maybe? Possibly. All right, Carrie, thank you for this. And to you, our dear listeners, well, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is so bad that there is no way in Gotham that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at NotThatBadCast.com. And remember that over the next couple of weeks, we are going to be talking about more films that have been nominated in the past for Razzie Awards as we continue to celebrate Razzie's Month 2025. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.